All right, well then let's get to it. Ready, set, football. We are tWoTcast, episode 284.
All right, everyone shut the f*** up.
Wheel of Time. Reread podcast. Explicit and R freaking rated. Jono's the wild card, always talking shit. Joe's the straight man, he's a total dick. Tom calls in if he's not too busy. We are tWoTcast!
You're listening to tWoTcast, Wheel of Time reread podcast, now covering Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time, Book 3, The Dragon Reborn. I'm Jono, and with me as always is Joe.
Hey, Jono! Hey!
And hopefully always, forevermore, Tom.
Study your math.
Let me introduce our new guest, Us.
Hey! No guest tonight.
Oh.
Hey, we haven't had a guest in a month because we haven't done our own show in a month because we've been guests on other shows nonstop.
Man, that was, it's so, I like everyone, so it's so hard to say no.
Also, it's super easy to just show up to somebody else's show.
Oh man, it is so easy to show up to somebody else's show. That is true. The one I was, so we were on Wheel Takes with Allie and Gus, which was fun. Then we were on Dusty Wheel. Then right after that, we were on Black Tower Podcast.
It sounded like you called it the Gussie Wheel, which would have been the Gus and Allie
Wheel
instead of Allie and Gus.
Are you not going to say that the other two were fun? You're just like, we were on Wheel Takes, that was fun, and we were on these two.
Dusty Wheel was interesting, but we were like handcuffed a tiny bit from being ourselves, which is fine because it's a live show on YouTube, and we shouldn't say fuck every 5 seconds.
Shouldn't you?
I mean, I did, and then I remember at some point, what was that chick's name we were with? Master of the Deck. She goes, "Oh, I already used my fuck up or something," because Matt made a joke that we could only do 2, and I gave one to. I was like, "Jono, you can have one," and then she's like, "I want another one," and I was like, "But before she said it, I had said fuck like 3 or 4 times," and she's like, "Oh, I already gave it up," and I'm like,
I already gave it up.
I think I've said it.
I fuck like 3 times. I just said it again.
I must have said it at least 5 times. Also, I discussed rape on the show, so whatever.
So
I thought it was
like
good.
We sound like we're from Monty Python's, like, the Knights Who Used to Say Me. He's like, I said it. No, you said it. Oh, we all said it. Fuck it. Fuck it.
Anyway, that was entertaining.
No, I mean, it's interesting and unfortunate to be on like a legitimate show that's a little more highbrow. But I think that we obviously we did our best and we dragged it down to a midbrow show.
Yeah, I agree. I think we brought that highbrow down to like mid-level at best.
Or maybe just one eyebrow.
At
kind
best.
Yeah, maybe one eyebrow was up like The Rock and one eyebrow was down.
Well, that's fantastic.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We turned that show into the people's eyebrow?
Yeah, we did a great job.
I like that.
Yeah.
I was going to say about Black Tower Podcast, that was the one I was most worried about because it was just like this weird open discussion where like they were asking us questions about stuff that I was like, yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
I don't have the whole series in my brain.
I don't have anything. I don't have anything to say. When people tell us to like, oh, this is what we're going to talk about, and I read that like that email, and I'm like, do you think we're going to prepare for this? We are not.
Do you know what we do on our show?
Which one was that one?
That was the one where we talked about drunk times in the Wheel of Time.
Oh, yeah.
on the
Which
Dusty
sounds
Wheel.
right up our alley, but it requires us to have like an overall knowledge or like. I think we did an okay job of pulling random pieces out of the book, but I'm sure as I reread, I'll be like, that would have been perfect to talk about. That would have been perfect to talk about. You know, Matt, like I remember the big moments, but
Matt on the Dusty Wheel like was, professional and courteous as a host. So like, if somebody hadn't said anything for a while, he would ask them a question specifically, or like for every question he would, he was going around the group to make sure everyone had time to talk. But every time he'd like directly ask me a question, I was like, whoa, I don't know. Look,
Thomas, what were your
I have something to say.
He'd be like, we haven't heard from Tom in a while. Like, Tom, what do you think about this? And you're like,
you haven't heard from me because I don't have anything to say.
I talk when I want to.
Yeah.
Listen here, nice guy trying to do a professional thing. Fuck off. You're too good. We're tired.
How dare you? How dare you give everyone even time on your show?
I don't know how to respond to a direct question. I just wait for a good opportunity to make a dick joke, and then I do it. Move on.
Yeah, and then we move on. That's our whole show.
Yeah, drive-by dick jokes. That's literally all I get.
Is that a band?
Jono?
Should be, yeah. All right, well...
yeah, I mean, I'm good. You ready?
Yeah, for a second it looked like Tom froze, but Tom was just sitting there letting that slip down his gullet. So like for a brief moment, Tommy looked like and I was like, oh, but he's back. He's got that thing out of his gullet. It's a penis. Drive-by dick joke eventually left Tom's throat.
I do want to go see the band Drive-by Dick Throat.
Yeah, Dick Throat. Oh, Dick Throat. Drive-by Dick Throat is a different band.
What kind of music does Drive-by Dick joke?
Honestly, it's probably lounge singing like Richard James. Like it's real calm.
That's what you think Drive-by Dick joke would sound like? Just the word drive-by, you have to have a different flair in there than lounge singer.
Yeah, I think that would sound more like Primus.
Great bass. Gives us the back.
Did you say grape ape or rape ape?
With a G. Oh.
He said grape ape. I forgot how fucking funny that joke is.
It's still one of the best jokes of all time. I think that might be one of the best jokes ever made.
It's a cartoon, right? It's like a Far Side cartoon.
No, it's fucking what's that?
Family Guy, isn't it?
Seth? No, not Seth MacFarlane. What's his other name? Seth Green. He does that toy show.
Toy
show. Robot Chicken.
It's so fucking fun.
It's just a bunch of burning it's pitchforks and burning torches, and they're just extending over this giant purple mound. You can't even tell it's an ape. And it's just somebody picks up a wallet. Oh, grape ape. Did anyone else hear the G? And then that's it. It just cuts away. That was it. It was amazing. I was like, that was the greatest cutaway joke I've ever heard.
I can't imagine coming up with that perfect of a joke and it only lasts for 5 seconds and then it's just done forever. And you're like, you retire?
Yeah, I was like, I think I'd be like, and I'm out. Done. See you later. I'm out of this writer's room. Maybe you move on to another show. But I think that's it for that room. You're just like, I'm out.
Yeah, you say
I can never top Grape Ape. Oh, man.
Spoiler warning. This is our episode covering spoilers and The Dragon Reborn, written by Robert Jordan. We'll be covering chapters 18 through 22 today. 22.
A lot.
Chapter 18, it's called Healing. It's a Matt chapter. Wait, and by a Matt chapter, I mean it's an Egwene chapter.
About Matt.
Beneath the tower. So I listened to our podcast from 10 years ago.
Oh, God. What an intro.
And well, actually, Donna, you said something really funny. You just said, what if Sheriam was really there to murder them or something? And she just accidentally turned a corner and they were all down there healing Matt. She's like, oh, that's what we were doing. And I was like, that was fucking brilliant. We should go with that joke.
She just forgot.
Yeah, she was like, oh, shit. Yeah, you're down here because everyone comes to someone's healing if you brought them to the tower. Not for any other reason.
We didn't recap the chapter. It's
this is
Matt gets healed.
Yeah, Matt gets healed.
And that's pretty much it. Sheriam comes to get the girls to go watch Matt get healed.
Yeah.
That's good context for that previous joke.
That's true. Sheriam comes and gets the girls to bring them down to Matt's healing, and Jono made a joke about her really trying to murder them. And then just stumbling upon it.
The most important scene in here, or the most important verbiage here, quote, Ruby capping the hilt, unquote, is how the dagger is described.
Yeah. So
capping the hilt.
So here's the thing. Capping the hilt does seem like
a pommel.
Right, but that's a pommel, and the hilt is the crossguard. So if you're capping the hilt, it still stands to reason where they put it. That's all I'm saying. If I was a blacksmith and I made blades for a living, I'd be like, what are you, an idiot? It's not on the pommel. It clearly says hilt right here. That's all I'm saying.
I know. But why would you? So yeah, you're right.
You're referring to the show dagger is obviously what we're talking about, by the way, for all our viewers that don't know what the fuck we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm fascinated because like my mind is always been it caps the handle, the pommel, but the hilt.
Yeah, the pommel. Yeah, I've always thought of it on the end of
the hilt is obviously not that. It's in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, he does blatantly say hilt. They're not wrong. It's just not what anybody has ever thought in their minds. Like when you say capping the end of a hilt, I guess you could call. So, I mean, the pommel is part of the hilt, though. You know what I mean? Like
the hilt, though, is definitely. Like,
isn't the hilt like technically the crossbar and the handle and the pommel? Like the whole thing is the hilt, right?
Yeah, that's kind of.
So then when you say cap it, I agree with you.
You got two directions now.
I'm just saying they're getting out on a technicality, I guess.
I love Tom's looking very serious at his penis right now.
I'm actually
viewers.
I'm actually
scrolling. The viewers can see that, Jono.
Scrolling through the things we're about to talk about, so I know what they are.
Tom is in the middle of figuring out where the hilt of his penis is. Like, is it here?
It's like, is the tip of my penis the hilt? Where would I put the gem? Would I put it on my balls? At the bottom of my balls?
If you were capping your penis with a ruby.
Called a condom. Red. Yeah.
With a ruby cap condom, where would the ruby be? On the end. Obvious. Right?
On a similar note to condoms.
Are you coming blood into the condom?
No. Yeah. She's bleeding.
The bottom of that gem is pointed straight to your urethra.
Franklin?
Splitting it open with every thrust.
Jesus. Sunlight catching it, giving it Malibu shadows.
Fucking horrible.
Things that I'm very proud of is the other day I turned far too old, 36, and I got an email from Alan, and it just makes me laugh every time that Alan, who has
nice of him.
better things in his life to do, sends me a happy birthday Jono email, and it's just kind of like, again, the old we're far too humbly fascinated by ourselves, not so humbly. If you had told me 11 years ago that was going to happen, I don't even think that it's not that it's not weird or cool that an editor from the Wheel of Time is wishing you a happy birthday. It's that I think of him and Amy as almost family at this point. So like, it doesn't seem strange, but then when you look at it, what it is on that, on this fan side of that spectrum, you're like, all right, that is weird. All I'm saying is everyone should start his or her own podcast. So this way you can become friends with Alan, and you can all have, way more of the exact same content, all of which is a pale imitation of our dick jokes.
Have we discussed a single part of this, Jeff?
Yes. Ruby covered penis.
Actually, I do want to talk about something.
Sharon stabbing.
10 years ago, we talked about Neve's comments about how strong she was. And you guys were both on the side of, there's no fucking way she's as strong as 5 of them. And I was like, really? Because I took that as she's absolutely as strong as 5 of them. And then she realized this in that moment, like how insane it is that she was saying those words out loud. Where are you feeling that now? Like, are you on like my end of the spectrum now? Or are you still on where you guys were 10 years ago?
I don't think she's as strong as 5 combined.
Linked?
Huh. Well, she says that she...
Can 5 Ace of link?
She says, I could barely do half of what they're doing. In terms of like the amount of the one power that they're controlling.
And then what does she say?
That's it.
I think she says a quarter even. She says something like she can't even do half or like less.
No, she doesn't go down.
She does.
You'd be wrong about that.
I don't think
Talk to me about it.
Damn, do
my fan fiction.
They're also using Vora's Sangreal at that point.
I always forget that it's got a real name. Yeah.
And then here's the interesting point, because you start to say, Jono, but we were like, all right, let's not argue about this and we move on. So that's why I want to.
But I was just going to say that everything we do is the same.
No, because we didn't that's why I want to talk about it, because we didn't really cover it. And it's still something that I'm like, it's been 10 years and I'm like, I still think that's what it was. Like, I still am on the same page. I wanted to see if you guys were on the same page, but also discuss it a little bit more. But also, You were 5 seconds away from saying she's not even as strong as Moraine or something like that. And then we moved on and I was like, wait, now. And when I heard that, I was like, that's absolutely not true. She's absolutely stronger than Moraine.
Isn't she generally the second strongest?
She's
there it is.
Aside from Olivia, she's the strongest woman.
No, she's not. She's not as strong as Lannister.
Not bad guys. Not bad guys.
She, like, of the people of she's. Well, Olivia.
She's stronger than Egwene and Elaine, and they're two of the strongest ever.
No, they're two of the strongest in 1,000 years. Like Egwene, Elaine, and Avienda would and obviously did get beaten heads up, no problem, by any and all of the Forsaken. Nynaeve is as strong as the weakest of the Forsaken in Book 4.
All right, so you're talking about where she's currently at?
Yeah, she gets stronger.
She's not just like she's already way ahead of where most would be of her maturity because she started naturally and she's older.
So you still don't but you don't understand that when she says I can channel that much, you're doubting her. I don't understand what you're like.
Does she say I can channel that much, or is she talking about the complexity of what they're doing?
No, it's pure. She's talking amount of the one power, the capacity to channel that much power
with
a sangreal.
Yeah, no.
I don't know if she's counting that. I don't know if she's counting that.
She looks like so. Here's the quote. Right?
Here's the point. You guys think that statement is insane, and what I would like to say is I think you're way overestimating how powerful those Aes Sedai are.
I don't think the statement is insane. I just think it was made.
She doesn't know what
to give us an idea of just how powerful she's going to be, or whatever. Like, I don't think it's supposed to be like a mathematical measurement of this is exactly how strong she is versus these.
I think it's pretty close to a mathematical measurement. I think she's wrong on a lot of points.
No, I mean, how is it that Cadsuane is considered to be one of the strongest in 600, 700 years? She's not intimidated by Nynaeve, and remember that Cadsuane is someone to be all following.
You think Cadsuane is stronger than Nynaeve? We should break out the encyclopedias.
I did not say that. I said 100 years. I did not say that.
Cadsuane's not intimidated by Nynaeve because she's not intimidated by strength.
Anyway, but still, she's someone who should be following decorum. It's hard. She says here, I don't think I could handle half that much of the power. She paused as if she had just heard her own words. That she could channel half of what 10 full Aes Sedai did with Sangreal, and she's like, Light, help me, I want to. I think she realizes, holy shit, what am I trying to say? What type of hubris am I putting together?
I think she's saying, I couldn't do that, but I could come close. Holy shit, I can't believe I could come close to 5 of these Aes Sedai. That's what I think she's trying to say.
She can probably come close.
Not to 5, 3 easily.
Again, is it Again, you're basing this off of some predisposed information of how strong you think these women are, and I'm saying they're nothing.
5 of them could be terrible.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're not going to take 5 of these because they've talked about the fact that Alana is and Elida. Who else? Elida's not on there, but Alana is almost as strong as Moraine, who's pretty much the same strength as Swan. Who are 2 of the strongest that have been there since Cadsuane, right? So these are
Moraine and Swan are among the strongest, yes. But they're nothing compared to Nynaeve. So if you add 2 or 3 more in that are shitty, it's not that weird for her to say that number.
We've clearly not been studying our math at all because this is where we keep falling apart here.
Well, you know what? As we said 10 years ago.
Yeah. What else happens?
Yeah.
They put the dagger in a box that's super thick. You know what I mean?
Oh, wait.
Like a real thick box.
Laris?
I do love.
She's got to have the thickest box in the White Tower.
I mean, she's got to have for putting a dagger in, yeah.
Yeah, that's my assumption.
What are tell me more about this thick box. What is is it kind of
the thickest box that the mistress of the kitchens would use to hold
I feel like we're done with this joke. Right? I think we nailed it.
Chapter 19!
Oh, hold on.
All right, John, go ahead.
I still have 2 questions. One, or I guess 2 thoughts. One, this is actually Matt all of a sudden coming to life, right? Yelling at the Aes Sedai to let go of him, pretty much, and commanding battle, battle, right?
It's interesting because he doesn't even have those memories yet.
But he does.
So that is interesting to me. I think it's because of the old blood in his body, but I think it's also because of the dagger being ancient evil. I think there's a lot of things going on. We've talked about this before, but I sort of always had this like memory of him like not really getting that kind of aspect to his character until he went to Rhuidean. But then obviously that's wrong because it happens way earlier. And I'm like, why did I have that impression? But I guess it's there way earlier.
It's just the old blood being strong, but then they really put all the memories in.
Yeah, and that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Tom's right in that, like, he literally asks to have his memories filled, and so they give him like 8,000 memories of the weird dances and shit.
Are all of his memories his past lives, or? I
would think so, but I think they'd have to cross over at some point.
They cross over. Like he's fought himself.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, he has fought himself. All right.
So he might have a tie to his past lives here, and then just naturally made it easier for them to.
Or maybe that it's like that he fought himself. One of them was his past life, and that was like somebody. You know what I mean? Like, it was still connected tangentially to like his past life or something like that. Yeah, it could. Maybe there's still some sort of connection there.
I'm sure I'm still very confused as to why they know this. This weave, because have they ever cleansed anyone of this? Like,
the Ruby Dagger weave? You learned that in Ruby Dagger 101 novice class.
Maybe it's just a general, like, I don't know. Maybe it's connected to like shit they studied that they have in their ancient textbooks and shit from like the taint on Sidon, maybe like it's kind of similar.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's an excellent question. Like, what is it? Just like an exponential healing weave or something like that, or is there something like when would they have had to use this before?
Yeah, and that's kind of to my point. And then secondly, like, because they've got the box there, it has it's
maybe this has literally happened before. They have. That city's just sitting there.
And that's kind
they have talked about, like, they know what would happen if a piece of that got out in the world. So
maybe it has, yeah.
Maybe it has happened like 300, 400 years ago or something, and they just like have knowledge of it. Or
that's weird.
I love that idea
because it really seems
so much
like they'd be more likely to just kill somebody that was infected by this than to be like, kill those.
Well, as we find out in like the next chapter or two, like,
which one?
A lot of it has to do with the horn and his connection to Rand.
Yep.
That they even were like, let's attempt this, as opposed to being like, what is that?
Otherwise, they just toss your rotting corpse right back into Shadar or Shadar.
They would have just put his body into a really, really thick box.
And then sit it back in and just catapult it.
I don't think that's going to fit. Next chapter.
Chapter 19 is called Awakening. It's a Matt chapter, and he's in his room in the White Tower.
It's a real Matt chapter, too.
Yeah. I just wrote that Matt wakes up, remembers some things, and eats a lot. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I wrote, I always find this chapter like refreshing in the terms of like Matt's awesome again, but really it's Matt was awesome for the first time because like everything before this has just been kind of shitty Matt.
Yeah,
this is sort of like the first real Matt that you ever get, really. It's his first POV. But it's like the first like time that he's like, oh, my dad was really cool and he thought like this, and like that's why I'm gonna think like this. I'm gonna think my way out of this, and blah, blah, blah. And all this stuff, like all the things that are happening in his mind, and you're just like, and also he's just like, I remember being sick. I remember this. This is going on. Like all this stuff going on. I'm like, yeah, this is fucking, and he's awesome, and I love it. And then like I was like, wait, he's never really been like this before. He's always been a dick.
So instantly awesome. Like he's talking about like, well, I'm glad I don't have that fucking dagger, but I'd love to sell it. Well, maybe sell it to the Coplans, just because they're
I don't remember why I liked him before, because as I reread the books, I'm like, he's not likable until this moment. Like
probably like
he does before this, you're like, God damn, dude, you're an asshole.
Yeah.
Well, you only get him for a minute in the first book, because then he's fucked up. Until the end, like he gets really upset when they attack the Knave.
Yeah,
he screams wisdom at the top of his lungs, which is, I still think it's hilarious every time I read that. And then he is kind of a dickhead throughout the Great Hunt.
Well, I mean, at that point,
he's
like,
kind of a
half
cunt
of
throughout
it's
the Great
dagger,
Hunt.
half of it's him. And there's that like brief little piece of him when they go through the flickers after he comes out. He's like, I would never betray you. I'd never betray you. And you're just like, okay, well, that seems genuine. Like, he was not an asshole then. He's just, but clearly he was in many other occurrences of his life. So you're just like, God damn, how razor's edge is him being a good guy versus a piece of shit his whole life? Like,
fairly, you know,
apparently pretty often it falls the other way.
Yeah, all of a sudden he's pretty cool here. He fights Gallad and Gawain, goes to save them in Tyr, and like, all right.
Yeah, he instantly goes from like not anyone's favorite character, like because like, you know, he's your favorite character if you're like a third kind of sarcastic prick, mine, to, you know, kind of all of a sudden he's like heroic, amusing, and at the same time kind of like your weird, not quite full like pulse really of what goes on, but he's got so many questions about like, is Rand really my friend? Like, that's a kind of awkward thing to have, you know. Like, he's just a very kind of like salt of the earth dickhead. I guess probably like. You
mean currently or before? Because he's sort of doing that currently. Is that what you're talking about?
Currently, yeah.
I kind of find it interesting that he's like, I don't even know what Perrin's doing. Rand's the Dragon Reborn now. That's fucked up, I guess. Good luck, you know, kind of thing. And then he's just, it's really kind of, I mean, it's sort of him realizing
has cirrhosis of the liver, jaundice at the very least.
Yeah. Maybe even a lipstick dick.
Off the charts, yeah.
I never even seen him drink. Where does he hide it?
Jono 10 years ago said he'd like to dip his beef into some mustard, which I thought was adorable.
I do have a note here that says this beef does sound amazing, and I also love that the Ice to Die.
Sounds delicious.
A fucking whole pitcher of wine, even though this dude's emaciated down to like 110 pounds. So Matt's just gonna get drunk and eat, and like it's kind of, you know, good for him. That's a good meal to come back like for your first time not being the most infectious thing this south of my dick. What?
Been on the verge of death for like 2 books.
Yeah, I'd drink a whole pitcher of wine.
I'm looking at half, okay? Yeah.
Well, like half of the first, all of the second.
Yeah.
What? The fifth.
The Manetheren battle memory is pretty badass. Yeah. I don't know if you want to go into detail. I love that I love that he realizes that a big farm in the 2 rivers isn't the top of his dreams anymore. It's just like, I guess that's kind of stupid now. Like, I did want a farm, but now
I would like a big farm in the 2 rivers. I just don't want to do the work of farm.
Yeah, so you want to be a plantation owner. I get it, Tom.
Yes. What is that? Tell me more about it.
Tom, I think you know.
Oh,
funny every time.
Goodness gracious.
Should have put that in my wedding speech. That Tom's always wanted to be a plantation owner, and then just stop that, go somewhere different. You can cut that, but it'd be really funny. Jesus. Tom.
Is that just you this whole time?
Yeah. I just been doing it with my own mouth the whole time. Just like I do Sandstorm.
I never knew. What's the Kyle's in this chapter?
Yeah.
Read is a battle theme. Yeah, you'll love battles.
I don't really have a whole lot here.
No, I mean, I think that you kind of are going to finish it. It's just like that cool ass scene of revisiting what happened in the Battle of the 2 Rivers.
Yeah, him going through his spotty memories currently and trying to figure out, like, I love the little bits of him going like, Varen said that, didn't she? Did she? Maybe she did. Does she know I blew the horn? I don't think so. Maybe she did. You know, like the whole time. God damn, he's so fucked. He has no idea who's who or like what people know about him or not. And then when Swan walks in and she's like, "You blew the horn on Valyria," he's like, "God damn it!"
Just Robert Jordan being like, "Hey, remember Matt? He's also one of these 3 tavern." And I realized I haven't done a lot with this guy. So
yeah, I need to catch him up to Perrin Golden Eyes over here. Well,
this man's naked and someone's walking in the door.
Yeah.
Do you think Robert Jordan was just hungry when he wrote this chapter?
I think so.
He was hungry, horny, and wanted to drink. So like he's like,
well, no, he was horny when he wrote the next chapter, Jono. Which is chapter 20, Visitations.
It's Land Fear.
It's a Matt chapter. He's in his room in the White Tower still. Lanfear walks in.
Yeah, Matt's visited by Lanfear and Swan.
And he's his butt ass naked. So, and she looks him up and down and goes, huh, all right. Which means, come on, he's got to be. Gotta have
She's
a nice
like,
dick.
She's like,
She's not
right,
impressive to look at otherwise right now.
She's not, but also just like not impressed at how skinny he is. She's like, oh, you'll put on
she's
weight.
like,
I'm
if
like,
you filled out, I'd bone you.
When I started reading these books, like from the first book, like the whole time I was like, well, maybe. And then I read this chapter and I was like, oh, I have no chance to fuck Lanfear. She doesn't look skinny good. That's when that dream
got
died.
no chance. She doesn't like skinny guys.
But Celine.
But she'll consider it if you have a big dick. Maybe he's a grower, not a shower, and he got erect the second she walked in. Because she is amazing.
Maybe it's Celine that doesn't like skinny guys. Maybe Lanfear's into it. I mean, Rand's a tall drink of water. He's not super thin, but...
I just think it's interesting that Lanfear is impressed with his dick, although he's not as thick as he should be.
That's a good point. I enjoy this because, as typical Matt, congrats. This is the second chapter you read from his point of view. Although you've seen this shit, he could not say the worst thing if he tried. Like other worst.
He's really good at saying the actual opposite thing that he needs to.
Are you an Aes Sedai? No. Are you sure you're a novice? No. Are you a dark? No. It's like, quite literally, these are the questions that you should never ask.
Yeah. Also, I don't have to convince you to do for glory. And he's like, well, maybe you do. And then she's like, and you're like, what is she about to do?
If you're in the hospital,
like, I'm done. Just balefires out the side of the White Tower.
If you're in the hospital and you just woke up from a coma and the nurse walked in, and you're just like, how old are you? How much do you weigh?
That's evil.
Are you evil?
It's so offensive.
When I had my first ACL surgery, I woke up and the first thing that, when you come up from being drug induced, it kind of a little blurry. And there's two nurses in the room, and also my parents. But I just looked up and I said, oh, it's nurses at the same time. And then, while saying that, all of a sudden, I was like,
you kind of broke up a little bit. Did you say two nurses at the same time?
Yeah.
It's a great thing to wake up and say.
And your parents are off to the side like, damn it.
Yeah. So that's not uncomfortable at all.
I'm sure people have said much worse things
jump out of bed naked
coming out of anesthesia.
Were they impressed with your dick, Jono?
I don't know. I don't have one. I mean, I don't know. They didn't see it.
Why do you think he was waking up from anesthesia?
Cut it off.
Do you not know what ACL stands for, Joe?
Interior cock ligament.
It's a cock loss surgery.
What a podcast.
Jono's smooth as a Kindle now. It didn't even take. You had to have another one.
I was a grower, and now I'm a shit.
What do you do with Shanda? Strap on?
Nothing.
I mean, she is a blow-up doll, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. I don't understand the question.
Yeah. I mean, I do a lot. We do a lot. There's a lot of sex happening.
All right. Well, Swan and Leanne,
real quick, does he have a Taviran effect on Lanfear? She kind of stopped herself halfway through, and she's like, "I've said too much."
I think a little. I think he's just so disarmingly casual, and the antithesis of the great game. He just immediately says what's on his mind, or she's like, "No, you dummy, it's that." Oops. I shouldn't have said that out loud.
It could be a naked dick effect. If I had a secret and I walked in and there was just a hot girl standing there naked, she's like, "What's your secret plan?" I'd be like, "Well, you know what? I don't think so."
Yeah. I'm not going to fall for that. You got me the first two questions. The third question, I'm on your power style.
Nice try, tits. I mean, lady. All right, you need to leave.
Oh, that last theory.
Either I'm going to bail for you, compulse you, or I'm going to go. I don't know which one. Oh, there's Aes Sedai coming.
That's the first scene in Austin Powers, right? When he gets unfrozen, just I'm going to shag her like a minx, kind of thing. I hope I didn't say that out loud just now. Matt
You
Cobb.
very much did.
Sounds exactly like you coming out of surgery from your cock loss surgery.
That's true. I was frozen. I bet these nerves shag like a minx. How do
Matt
I tell?
looks at his dice bag, and then Suwan walks in.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Oh, I meant cup. He keeps his balls in a cup. I meant dice. He keeps his dice in a cup.
This is definitely a metaphor. He was definitely juggling those balls in the butt. He's like, well, Lanfear was impressed. They're still
He's looking
there.
in the wardrobe. He's like,
Yeah.
I can't find my balls. Oh, there.
It's just slowly getting touched.
Blow on these.
Juan walks in.
I'm going to throw them against the wall. None of this makes any sense.
It's all right. It's good. It's going okay. Let's try it for the third time. Swan walks in.
It's going
All right,
good.
let's
It's going good. Oh, you
She
know what's
looks
funny?
right at his
From,
dick,
10
and she
years
was like,
ago,
I just like fish.
Tom mentioned mate and pirine, but I guess we had come up with those idiot ideas a long time ago. But I don't remember when, but we said mate and pirine, and I thought that was hilarious.
These are two of my favorite alternative characters, considering that they're literally the same fucking people.
Well, I didn't understand the context, but apparently we were joking about them being like past lives of Matt and Perrin. That's where it originated. And I think later on we would just refer to the normal characters as that. And I don't think I remembered that they were.
Yeah,
like,
we made a joke about it because like it was talking about like the mini lives, the mini weaves of like the Wheel of Time or something like that. Like, yeah, you know,
Many lives of Pira.
instead of
Mate and Pirine. Classic.
that's it. It's good enough.
It's just a classic, podcast joke.
Classic mess around.
It's just a classic Mate and Pirine mess around. Swan and Leanne. Let's get to it. Jesus Christ. All right. So
That was the fourth time we've tried.
yeah.
So Swan
We're really
says that
stuck on Matt being naked and Lanfear. we can't get past
to do it again. All right. So Swan and Leanne, let's do it.
Matt's
Or
naked.
Liana. Can't stand it.
She tells, they have a conversation about kind of, what he's supposed to do. And, the answer is just stay here, get healthy. And he's like, what the fuck if I want to leave? She's like, well, that's great and all, but, the guards know you're a risk and that you're a shifty dude. And
he basically says, I want to leave right now. And she's like, you need to eat a shitload, more than that, every day for a week, if not more. And maybe you're not all the way healed. And she basically alludes to him being there for like a year. And he's like, a year? Like, he kind of loses his mind.
yeah, that would not be
That's something reasonable. Like, we're going to look after you for like 2 months or something. He would have been like, yeah, all right.
2 months. Yeah. Oh, that actually doesn't.
He still would
So long
have
to-
flipped out, but he might have been like, okay, understandable. I mean, it's an ancient evil. You want to check up on me? I get it.
Weeks
I honestly don't even understand. It's just like, look, you're gonna have to live here in this castle. Nobody lives in this castle but ladies. All your food and wine is free, and like you can go to the city and drink and come back. Rent's free, but I'd be like, just 1 year. The rest of my life.
Are you sure you don't want me to stay forever?
It's the Castle Zoo.
I mean, I can stay forever.
What's the castle of Monty Python where it's just women who want to have oral sex on them? Where like actually,
I don't remember, Dana.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that movie in a million years.
that's not my fault. It's a great movie.
Anytime they try, it was like, all right, it's your last day. How you feel? I'd be like, not good.
I'm
2
feeling
more
better.
months.
Anyway, so Lanfear,
If
you
viewers
tell him
couldn't
that
see,
his
but I
dad-
almost coughed, laughed all over that in reality.
we somehow missed while talking about Lanfear over and over, looking at his dick, that Matt and Rand's dad did come to the tower.
Oh, yeah,
And-
she gives him a lot of information, blah, blah, blah. It's very important.
Yeah, well, so Matt knows to ask about it, and
Yeah, that's true.
only after pressing Swan with his penis does she, send her
She
or send
definitely
Leanne
doesn't
the fuck away.
offer any information up. She waits till he says something, and then he's like, "So she told me, but not until I asked her about it." And she never mentioned Rand's father.
Yeah. So he kind of confronts her. She sends Leanne away, and he's just like, but she just Like, do you want me to, like, we could fucking leave you to die, if you didn't want to do it. He's like, I'll blow it. I'll blow all the fucking you want. I was just trying to check it out. Like, it's such a wonderful backwards run from Matt about just kind of, I didn't say anything about what I wouldn't do, but I'm happy to do everything.
She's basically like, you blew the horn of Valir. Also, stop talking about Rand, you idiot. And then she's like, we could kill you, or you could blow the horn of Valir, the last battle. He's like, I'll take that second choice. Thank you.
Yeah. And that's pretty much the chapter.
Let me see what I've got here. You're
how you read?
She does mention her Uncle Juan, which I think is hilarious.
Juan or Juan?
Juan.
Are you doing that weird thing where you're not Hispanic, but you pronounce it like you are Hispanic?
What am I saying? What way? I will.
We're going down a dangerous path here. Moving on.
It's interesting that she thinks, either she thinks this or she's just telling him this. But she basically says the horn is useless now. It's just a horn, which is true. But she also says that it would work for Sheol, which isn't true, apparently, as we find out at the end of the books.
This goes back to the healing. Like, how would they even know that?
Yeah, that's it. No. It's not like it's ever been blown for the other side, or fucking all of time would end.
Like, one guy blew it, and another guy was like, "Let me try it." He's like, "Well, that didn't work," and then he stabbed the first guy, and then he did it again. He's like, "Oh, that worked. All right, so now we know the rules.
Now we know. Now we get it."
But someone stabs him.
Man, maybe they just know that it's bonded to the person that blew it. But again, it's more about it works for the other team or not. And I'm like, because even back in the day, I was like, why would the heroes of time come back and be like, yeah, all right, let's fight for the Dark One? I mean, he blew the horn.
They come back and they're just like, well, we don't like it, but who do you want us to kill?
I mean, they've got the dragon there.
They don't do anything. Like, if they're blown by the wrong people, they just kind of sit there and just kind of jog around in circles.
Just in fog.
Yeah.
Is that a slow-moving tornado? It's the heroes of the horn. They can't fight.
Arthur Hawkwing just flops down on his belly and starts pounding his fists and feet on the ground. He's like, not going to do it.
No,
I think it's hilarious that she sent Leanne out for pie. It's like... Yeah. I can't, for the life of me, figure out why Leanne likes Suan. Like, she treats her like a servant. She's like, you're the keeper of the Chronicles. Get the fuck out of here. Go get some pie. Now let me tell you secrets.
I don't think they're friends later down the road as so much as co-conspirators. I think.
Yeah, they're just kind of stuck together.
Once that connection is severed, she's just kind of like, all right.
Hold on, the geese are coming.
Oh, that's okay.
I think the reason that they have a latent friendship just from their time together as, novice and accepted. Obviously, they weren't quite as close as Moraine. No pillow friends there. But I think that, there's at least, there's 20 years of being friendly together and working together. And Leanne was...
Yeah, but that's it. They're co-workers. They're not like... I don't know. I just like again. I kind of go back to what I go back to what I said a million years ago with like Moraine and Swan having 20 years to like root out other people to maybe help them and like to be working on like finding somebody they could trust with the information that Rand and or whoever is the Dragon Reborn, that he's alive and all this stuff, and you're just like, you had 20 years. Well, this kid, 19 or whatever, however long. But you know what I mean? Like, basically 2 decades to figure out, like, come on, man. You don't have one other person you trust? You haven't taken all of this time. Leanne is the first one you could try it on. You could just be like, hey, listen, let's have a series of dinners over the course of 5 years, in which case I will slowly ask you questions, trying to catch you in a lie, or figure out if you're trustworthy. Like, you can't, like, come on, like, it's not, anyway.
Yeah, it's just a quick question, like, hey, what would you do if, like, the Dragon Reborn happened in our lifetime? Oh, I'd send him immediately to finish it up. Okay, cool, good dinner. All right, and we're done here.
Ever inviting you to dinner again?
Yeah.
If you have a 5-year series of dinners with a person where you're asking penetrating questions to find out whether or not they're trustworthy or not, you have to get married at the end of the...
What do you think marriage is?
Oh, I don't know.
Tom wouldn't know he's not married.
I still haven't figured it out.
All right, chapter 21.
Haram Royd.
A World of Dreams. The Queen chapter.
Yeah, Varen gives Gwen the ring.
Other than this, that's all I got. Other than this adorable like peek into Varen's personal rooms, which is hysterical, and I love it on multiple levels. Other than that,
yeah, we could do like a whole episode about the interior of her study.
just so many weird details that I'm like, interesting. Do you think all brown Aja are like Varen? I consider Varen to be like well versed in like many topics, whereas like I feel like most brown Aja are like, I really like this thing and I'm going to study it forever.
It's like going to visit Merlin from the Sword and the Stone.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I feel like I see Varen as more of like an overarching. She's a headmaster of Hogwarts. She's not necessarily a potions teacher. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and that makes sense. I mean, like, there's plenty of ways to have that. I think that she's old as fuck, right? I mean, she's older than most Aes Sedai. She's not Cad's plain old. She's old, so she's had chance to kind of get that. But I think that she also, knowing her fascination, and also being Black Aja, I think that she probably has been told to kind of confine her studies to a few seemingly diverse, but at the same time very relevant.
But really like aimed towards the Dragon Reborn and or the Dark One. Yeah.
And so there's going to be weird things that come to that.
I think she's had I like that idea, Jono. I like the idea that she's just had a long enough timeline where she's like, well, I'm going to study this until I hit a dead end. And then I'm going to go backtrack to this end of the branch and go down this end. And and she's just had so much time. She's basically studied fucking everything. Like her knowledge of just like the terangrial. Here's the point. Being Black Aja, she probably knows what at least some of those terangrial do that they took.
Yeah.
And obviously knows that they're connected to the World of Dreams, and obviously gives Egwene the dream ring for a fucking reason. The point is, does she know that because she's Black Aja, or does she know that because she's studied everything so long that she's like, oh, I see what they're doing, and then goes like...
Well, let's get to that. So 2 things before we get there. One, we see the flash of white, which presumably is Lanfear / Elsie Grinwell for Egwene's walk up there. I assume. Yeah. I have always, you guys instantly, I'm sure, going to make fun of me, find it fascinating of kind of where we see the Browns, and it's a little kind of like just the routines that they do in the tower, and that, it also shows how empty the tower is now versus where it is a couple thousand years ago. Pretty usual world building shit that I get way too excited about. But coming back to the point here, what I love is that there's this poem, right? It's in high chant that she reads. It's cryptic as fuck. It's actually it's the most important piece of lore to a certain extent since the breaking. It literally says that Ishmael is coming back and forth in and out of the world at some regular cadence, and is the person who is running the world for the Dark One. Yeah, and I also didn't put that together, like, when I read that. And she blatantly asked Egwene, like, does that mean anything to you? And she's like, no, nothing at all. But I wonder if is she asking... she's like, is she asking her that because she actually thinks she might answer her? Or is she, like, wanting to give her this information without blatantly being like, I'm a dark friend, and I know shit that you need to know? That's it, though. It's like, no one should guess that, right? The catechism is always that, hey, the Dark One and the Forsaken are bound, right? Okay, so maybe at some point the Dark One gets out, but unless someone bores a hole, no one should. So why would you ever expect the Forsaken to be out too, right? Unless, of course, you saw him.
If you're a first-time reader, don't you kind of know at this point?
Because you've seen him?
Well, I mean, that he's obviously not actually Baalzamon. Well, he hasn't said him come and go and die and come back. Yeah, but I mean, we know. Moraine said it so many times. I feel like I knew at this point.
You may.
I don't know if I did or not.
I can't remember. I mean, obviously, it's fucking a million years ago, but...
I think I suspected it.
I think
you certainly don't realize when it's like spelled out for the characters, right? Like you suspect well before that.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. Yeah,
I can't tell if I just knew or I don't know when I would have discovered that. That's interesting.
So, and I think it's probably a product too of reading at a certain age where you're a little more mature to question things, right? Like I read this like in probably 5th to 6th grade, and while I was a voracious reader, I'm certainly not going to tell you I was a great questioner what the fuck I was reading.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was in high school.
Yeah, I was a little. I mean, I was in high school, but I was a little. Yeah, I was like 16, right? Maybe.
Yeah.
I think I understood that Ishmael, or I didn't know he was Ishmael, but I think I understood that who they saw as Beelzebub wasn't really Beelzebub, you know?
Yeah, Moraine says that very clearly at the end of the first book.
Yeah.
Or is it really not so clear, and you think it is?
If there only there was a way for us to find a first reader podcast.
I read these books after Tom, and we talked about it all the time. I mean, it could be something as simple as Tom was like, "Oh yeah, that's not that guy," and like, not like, and in terms of spoilers, like, just us being brothers and me being like, "I don't care, you can spoil something, I don't give a fuck," or just be like me saying something and him being like, "You don't realize that that's not that person, dummy," or something like. I mean, it could have been something as simple as that. So it wasn't something I ever figured out. Maybe it could have just been a conversational thing between me and Tom. Is what I'm saying.
Let's have a speculative conversation about what we might have thought 30 years ago.
I mean, I'm just trying to figure out like what, because I don't know why I just knew that he was Ishmael and like when I knew that. Like, I don't know.
Tom, to your point,
because hunting those whales.
Oh, me. Like, we don't even have phones, dickhead. That makes sense. Fuck it. I was gonna make a joke about the Wheel Takes podcast, and the fact is that Allie somehow knows way more shit than she should. I swear she cheats. Like
she reads it very slowly while discussing it in high detail with Gus, while he reveals reveals answers that aren't quote unquote spoilery. But he knows like a ton of information, and like just like little things like this guy's important, pay attention to him, or like, I mean, I'm sure like
your focus.
I love that you're shitting on her. Like, well, maybe she doesn't know shit, but he's the one feeding it to her.
Oh no, not at all. No, she's clearly digesting the books at like a high level. My point is, she's reading it very slowly, and she has plenty of time to ruminate over each chapter.
Yeah, I would think about what something means in chapter 1 of one of these books, and like 2 days later on chapter like 35. I have no time to think about it.
That's
or you also maybe you're better served for reading it all very quickly. You start to just kind of intuitively figure out what's going on. I don't know.
By reading, yeah.
By reading, yes.
Yeah.
You read the words on the pages.
Watchinary, which was funny because it was like spoiler free for Allie to a certain extent. But halfway through the show, I was just like, you should have your dad pop in and see if we all want pot pies.
That is still one of the greatest moments in podcast history.
It was adorable.
You guys want pot pie?
Well, it was better when he asked who ate something else from the refrigerator, and Gus said he did it, and her dad just goes, "You can get your own pot pie."
No, he was talking about pot pies. He goes,
pot pie. Like,
you guys want a pot pie? And they all said yes, and so that would mean 3. And then he goes back to the refrigerator. There's clearly only 2, and he comes back in and goes, "One of you guys eat a pot pie?" And he goes, "Yeah, that was me." And he's like, "Well, you don't get a pot pie." Fucking hilarious.
We didn't appreciate that enough in the moment.
Oh man, it was so fun. I was trying to stay on track for their show.
Yes, let's do that for ours.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry.
All right, so that's your point. So Varen hands over the documentation on Leandrin, which, by the way, is delightful because it's the most obvious 13 that are all 6. It's just so obvious when you get there. Like, it's really 2, 2, 2, 2, 1 kind of thing. Like, and they all have a map of book on tier, and they like, what does Tyrion's sex look like? That kind of thing. And Varen's like, there's nothing real obvious in it, and but maybe you can draw your own conclusions. It's like, is Varen black? Probably not, right?
So that's definitely Varen pointing them there.
Yeah, for sure.
Because otherwise, those 13 are just like, well, we definitely want somebody to follow us to tier, so I'm going to leave this book, my stuff.
Open to like, this page.
I'll do that too. Like, and
I'm going to read these 3 library books and accidentally leave my bookmark in each one and then put them back on the shelves.
by the time they get to the 8th person, that person's just like, guys, we can't all leave something about tier in our foot lockers.
It'll be too obvious.
Like, no, what are you leaving? Just tell us about tier and then we're moving on to the next person. We're not changing the plan. Tier.
Ends up they were just at a book club together and they all got interrupted at the same day. And so it was really just like a whole bunch of shit unrelated that they finished on that same day.
Maybe they all just wanted to learn more about the city they Maryland came from to curry favor with, leader of the White Tower.
So that's what fish guts are. The shed.
I wrote, Sheriam finds Egwene in the hallways right by Gryffindor common room and brings her down to the testing.
All right. That's it.
Chapter 22.
We should have saved all of our time for this one.
The Price of the Ring. And,
yeah.
It's Egwene, and she's in the White Tower, guys. Egwene goes down to her testing, and she gets tested.
Sorry. I figured at least Jono would say something. I got a text, and I looked at it, and then I heard you say something, and just paused and stared at us. I'm like, oh, so no one's talking.
Well, I was going to joke about the fact that I wanted to go back and talk about the dumbest one-page point of view, which is just so perfectly Varen, and it still leaves you.
Are you back on chapter 21?
Yes.
Joe, 21, yes. Yeah.
I swear to God.
But the point here,
Tom literally just said, like, we need as much time for chapter 22 as we can, and you're like, let's go back.
Honestly, I got more to talk about 21 than 22.
Well,
I mean, 22 is interesting. You're right. I don't. We can tear through chapter 22 pretty quick. Actually, honestly, we can talk about Varen. Go ahead, Jono.
Well, hold on. Let's go through 22 and then circle back to Varen's office.
She's wrong. Anyway, so I like the fact that in her office, Varen has eaten. That's not right. No, but like that, she's got the notes from Corianna Nadil, who was the most recent, also the last shitty dreamer that the White Tower ever had. Yeah. And we actually don't even know if she was really a dreamer so much as someone who could just figure out how to use that ter'angreal.
So she weaved into the ter'angreal to dream?
Was she ever?
Well, she at least studied it enough to realize that you don't need to even channel as long as it's touching you.
You're just saying she was a dream weaver.
Yeah. The whole dream weaver. And only you can catch.
So easy.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll watch Wayne's World anytime with you.
Camera 1, camera 2.
Gratuitous sex scene incoming. So it's perfect for the character as far as the reader is concerned. Of she gives just enough information for someone to be dangerous, but is it nefarious? Is it kind of a teacher to teach that to learn on your own kind of thing? And we find out later it's both. Hooray. But I just kind of, this is in this book, or I guess the last book we had this point where we don't know if Moraine or Varen is stretching the truth. Here, Varen holds back information, which would be probably quite fucking useful. And then a question you had asked earlier is, kind of how did Varen find this stuff out? Literally, it's from combing the library, and that's where she found Corianna Nadil's notes because they were somehow just.
You said literally combing the library, and I thought of Spaceballs immediately. You can't literally comb the library, John.
We just holds every book and rub the comb along the edges of it. Interesting. I've learned so much.
I could watch the Afro pick guy over.
Hey, that'd be a good ter'angreal to have. You just have a comb that you can like brush the side of a book and have all the knowledge. Nice. I learned something more.
That sounds like a Harry Potter spell more than like a ter'angreal.
Well, I mean, what is this ripped off from?
Harry Potter.
This is all a rip off of Harry Potter, Jono.
All right, so that's all I got.
Didn't you hear a second ago? Egwene was right outside the Gryffindor.
That's all you got for 21? All right, we're on to 22.
All right, Egwene goes down to her testing. I think, is it Alana that says there's a resonance? I don't remember, but
Yes.
We don't find out until the very end after all the shit that she goes through, and they're like freaking out because the Terangriel's freaking out. And they don't know what's going on, but we find out that Alana's like, the only time that's ever happened before was when the Terangriel's in the same room with the Terangriel. And it's like, oh, interesting.
That happens in the next chapter, in the next section, in the next episode.
Oh, is that the next part? Oh, sorry, my bad. Oh, yeah, at the end of this.
Jerk.
I'm jumping ahead to the next episode, not even the chapter.
Next.
Do you want to?
Next.
I guess we shouldn't jump straight to the rings.
So
I remember being super freaked out and super nervous that she had those notes and the
yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Even now, I'm like, what if they look at them? I'm like, I know that they do. Joe, you've read this book like 7 times, probably more.
Well, I mean, it's fascinating because she's got it's like a fucking moving box, right? It's easy like one because it's got all these things from 13 different people.
Is that what it is?
Like, yeah, it's files. Like it's not just like
it's not like a moving box. She has
I thought it was something she could hide in her dress or something.
No, the pouch itself for the Turing Grail is, but she's got all these. It's not a pop, but it's got everything.
Basically, Sheriam is like, "What are all those papers?" And she goes, "Something that Sheriam wanted me to study." And then she's like, "I hope she doesn't ask me anything more because I'd have to hand it to her because she's an Aes Sedai." And she'd immediately be like, "What the fuck?" Kind of thing. But like, I don't think it's not that much paper. It's like a manila folder, Jono. I don't think it's like a fucking moving box of like.
I'd go with an accordion.
There's a fair amount of people in the room, and basically it's like Egwene puts her purse down and goes to the bathroom, and then immediately Sharon would pick it up and just start rifling through it. Would never be like, "What are you doing?"
True. It would be weird. Yeah, you're right. I don't know. Well, she folds her clothing on top of it, and then at the end they go. Well, again, that's next chapter. Never mind. But it's like just the idea of her folding her clothing onto it and just going like, "Hope no one touches that."
It's like me at the beach and putting notes on my wallet.
In that moment,
no
of
one will touch this.
They're like, "Are you already refusing to go into the Terangriel?" And she's like, "No, I just nervous about my papers about the Black Aja."
Nobody.
I'm nervous about being naked.
Nobody touches anything if you put folded clothes on top of it. I mean, they really don't.
Yeah, it's like going to the beach. Spotting. Everyone puts their wallet in their shoe. Everyone.
Seinfeld jokes now.
So it's Alana, and some yellow Ajah chick that we don't know, tending to it. And I love, and by that I mean I fucking hate, how much of a bitch Elida is. Like, oh, look at this bitch.
She's being extra bitchy. I almost feel like Jordan was going out of his way to be like, let's start a little mini rivalry between them now. Because I know what will happen later, kind of thing. Because it seems so almost forced.
It's just another fight with Harriet.
That Elida is Black Ajah. Yeah, it's another fight with Harriet. That idea. But yeah, Elida's potential Black Ajah-ness comes up. Is super
Robert Jordan just like, Harriet's being a real red Ajah right now.
That time of the book.
God damn. That's what Red Ajah means.
Well, that's the joke I was making, but John just
I had no idea.
Had to write it out very clearly.
Sometimes I need
for
to
the viewers. For the viewers.
All right, so she jumps in, she gets naked, she jumps in.
Let's focus on the naked part, I think.
Rand is
really
a child named Joya, who we find out later on is a Black/Grey Ajah Aes Sedai, and has no maternal.
Who has no internal what?
Maternal, like it's not her kid.
Oh,
right.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
In this ring thing, it's not her kid?
No, he just reuses the name Joya later.
Afterwards. Joya is in fact not Egwene's kid.
It is funny that sticks with her, like later on, and bothers her.
I mean, this one's very interesting. It's as heart-wrenching as Nynaeve's first ring, where you're like, the life that they left behind and what could have been. But at the same time, I've already seen her and Rand as like completely separate now for so long that I'm almost like, it's almost weird and jarring when she's like, that's what I've always wanted to be married to Rand. I'm like, is it?
I know it's weird to see a potential timeline of her married to Rand when we know the true love of her life go in. They had such a great relationship. What
you mean
come to be?
I think you mean Gallon.
I think you mean Aaron.
Jesus Christ.
What I find interesting here is the parallel, or that, Rand's point of view when he goes through the flip, right, world stones, is certain things are almost, and probably because of the nature of time and the nature of these timelines, is that this was always going to happen, right? The Shan-Chan, no matter what, are coming over this year, or have just come over in this case, and are therefore going to take over the continent, from west to east, and will be coming to the Two Rivers no matter what. And because that's what this is about. It's just before the fight, but it's, hey, they've had their kid, but some farmer dickhead is telling them about.
Is that how you saw that? I guess in my brain, I always just think of this as like a future scenario, like maybe it's like 5 years from now or something like that.
Far ahead. I mean, it's far enough ahead for them to.
No, I mean, there's no reason for me to think that either. I just, for some reason in my mind, I always kind of pictured them being like mid-20s and, they've been married for a little while or whatever, kind of thing.
I would.
But you're right. It's probably like current day.
Yeah.
But a different timeline.
Yeah. Further than current day, maybe a year from now. And, this is where the Shan-Chan inevitably get to unless they're pushed back.
Yeah.
And so, it's just kind of, war is afoot, or the Shaken, I'm sorry, not the Shaken. As
the San-Chan.
The San-Chan. I enjoy the different names because it really helps actually for me to understand. Because I used to. It
just makes me think that Rand doesn't listen to the news. It's just somebody's telling him stuff, and he's like, yeah, whatever. Sean, men.
Not gonna work here anymore.
All right, whatever. I don't care.
San-Chans.
Nothing ever gets to the Two Rivers. I don't give a shit. Anyway, I'm gonna go home and tell my wife about it, I guess. Yeah.
But anyway, so he gets these headaches, also incredibly similar to what goes on in the flickering, and a Gwen who can help him, really, which is interesting because in this case, that means she's very skilled at healing, maybe of certain types, but she heals several people that Nynaeve can't. And healing isn't really something that Egwene is over.
I see this almost as like a mirror world where Nynaeve doesn't have the one power.
Well, there's still a discussion. I don't think so. I mean, there's still a discussion that Nynaeve can pull off miracle healings, and even those that she can't, Egwene can still do.
Do you wish that he would have tied at least one of these directly into one of Rand's flickers?
That would have been really interesting.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't really understand how that's relevant.
This, by the way, you said, do you wish? That just made me instantly think of that.
I mean, there's a possibility that this is the one where Rand is a stinky man with no fingers or something. That's and later on, I mean, the taint is just rotting his body, and no deodorant could ever cover it up.
I just feel like it's somewhat of a missed opportunity to do something like. I would have been a little more amazed by it.
That would be pretty cool if there was some sort of connection to something else. Also, we still don't really know what this ring is.
Yeah, the flickers were alternate realities, right? The rings,
for sure. Yeah, the flickers were literally separate timelines of reality. Yeah. This is more like.
This is World of Dreams. That's why it resonates so much with. It's World of almost like an encumbered and created World of Dreams through this weave, through the Turin Grail. That's why
I think it's coincidentally interesting that Nynaeve also had a more than interesting testing. It seems like it should have just been one of them, maybe, or it seems a little forced.
I mean, I guess it kind of pulls through on what because they're not in they're not normalized to die, and the fact that they've seen and understand what's happening for the importance of the world. So it's not just kind of like, I want to be the battle Aja, or I want to heal people. It's, I know that the world's going to end in my lifetime unless some shit goes down because So
yeah, that's
maybe,
true. Also, Egwene's is directly related to the fact that the dream ring's in the room at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, they're
So
not
it's
all
less of
interesting. Elaine's is obviously boring.
Oh yeah, that's. I mean, we didn't talk about that. I don't know. Maybe we talk about it in the end of this episode. I didn't listen to the end, or maybe we talk about it in the next episode or something. But I vaguely recall us kind of discussing like what did happen in hers, or would that have been interesting to see? But I mean, no idea what we said. But I mean, I hate Elaine, so I'm glad.
I know the first ring for Elaine is she went to a shoe sale, but they were sold out of the shoe she wanted.
Every single one of hers is like super low stakes and rich people problems.
Yeah. The second one, she orders a 5-pound lobster, but it's 4.95 pounds. She's
like,
furious.
"What the fuck is this?" And
the waiter won't even comp her meal, and she doesn't get it.
It's just a conversation between her and Gwen, and she's talking about dinner, and then he's like, "Well, then what'd you do?" And she's like, "Well, I left it on the ground all night."
Yeah, I'm your brother. Yeah. No, you're not.
Elaine in our reality is definitely making YouTube videos complaining about having to wear a mask during a pandemic.
She is.
Fuck Elaine.
I have
new colored contacts.
I'm the daughter of Androl.
I don't wear masks. Ring number 2.
Egwene and Camelin, also not too dissimilar.
Wait, what did she say when she popped out? I guess the little tidbits when she pops out are almost more interesting than what, because Sheriam's there each time, and she's like, "Oh," about like what. But I think this one was basically nothing. It was just like, "Oh yeah, it's very disturbing." Anyway, moving on. Ring 2.
Yeah, the first one's not too interesting, but the second one, Egwene and Camelin, all is destroyed.
This one's crazy.
She does ask Sheriam if it was real, and Sheriam literally doesn't know the answer.
Yeah. By the way, I love the fact that it's kind of fucked up. She's trying to heal Rand at the end of the last one and sees the thing, and just pretty much like my first memory, which was wrong, was like she's instead of like pushing it in the crib, or she runs through it, just tosses it away, but it's always been in the crib the whole time. Just runs.
The idea of a queen running towards the ring and just tossing a baby over her shoulder and she jumps through.
I just like, she is incredibly distressed, and Rand is conceivably dying and screaming, and the baby's laughing in the background. So you know what, Joya? Their daughter might be Black Asha too.
Maybe that's what that is. So, sorry.
Dragon Reborn is dying.
That scene,
and no one can stop
Rand
it.
dies, and Joya just goes, "I win again."
I win again, Daddy.
I win again.
She spells it out with blocks.
What does that say, Joya? Tam comes in. What does that say? I win again. I don't get it.
So, anyway, back in
Ruined Camelin, yeah.
all is destroyed. Eardril and Trollocs walking around. She accidentally steps on what ends up being an Aes Sedai's dead arm. She could see the fucking ring on it.
Ring, yeah. It's fucked up when she says, like, because her reference of that is like, "I know there's a ring on that hand, but I don't look down because I've seen too many dead Aes Sedai." And you're like, God damn. Like, it's not just like, oh, there's a dead Aes Sedai and I move past it. It's like, that's the 50th dead Aes Sedai I've seen today. And I was like, Jesus Christ.
Because I love him, because I do him a lot. Anyway, she finds Rand with a beam on his chest, pinning him down. And she's like, "Well, I could channel to help you out." And he's like, "So could I, dumb bitch. I'm keeping it."
No, he says, "I could do it too, but I'd have to let the madness in," or something like that. He's like, "I'm physically holding it at bay," or something. Which is interesting, because it seems like that's not right. Like, that seems like that's Egwene's brain, like, filling in information of what she thinks it might be like, kind of thing.
Yeah. Like, that's dark, that he's like, and he gives like a laugh that's like, I kind of like half like wheezing, like, and keeping it at bay. And she's like, uh-oh. And
how would you know? It's not like there's a countdown timer where like, all right, I can do it 10 more times. It's like, well, I've only got one left.
I know that if I use the one power this one last time, it's over.
Later on,
if you think you're down to one time, you're probably not sane enough to realize it.
I mean, you're probably right, but Rand does realize later on, like, that like every time he starts handling fitness, which isn't like he thinks is related to going insane and therefore stops using the source as much, kind of thing. It's not necessarily, but what's interesting, or one of the many things interesting here, is information comes from this thing. He's worried that 13 mirror draws through 13 thread lords.
Yeah, that is incredibly odd.
Yeah.
Well, we have to learn this eventually.
Such logical information that she wouldn't have. I have to assume it's because the dream ring is fucking shit up at this point.
It could be. I love that idea.
Because that's like the only reason why like reality would be bleeding into like the thing that should just be based on her own mind.
That's a good point. If it's her it has to be somewhat real. Otherwise, if it's her imagination, like, where would she come up with this accurate information from?
Yeah.
Balefire. She's never even heard the word balefire in hers.
Huh.
All right. So it's all real.
On that, then maybe these rings in general have something to do with the world of dreams, and that's why it can
That's why there's the resonance.
Anytime I think that it might be real, I think it's super fucked up that they would have to be inhabiting like a body of an alternate version of themselves.
Yeah. And
Rand would have to be like, I'm dying, save me. And she'd be like, I'm sorry, and run like 20 feet away through a silver ring. And then all of a sudden, the real Egwene from before is still there. There's no silver ring. And she turns around and she's like, what the fuck is going on?
I missed like when Nave 20 minutes here?
Nave runs away from Lan and her children just over the hilltop and then just turns around and Lan's like, what's wrong with you? And she's like,
nothing.
I don't know. I don't even remember the last 5 minutes. And he's like, well, something's...
That's all right, wife. Very much.
Third ring, and before we get there, Sheriam, quick note of like, oh, but she almost, like, she very dark friendly reacts to how Egwene is like, so it takes 13 Aes Sedai to turn a man, huh? And she's like,
she's like, shut
I don't know anything about that.
Shut it.
I've forgotten how much that shit happens later on at the end of the series. That there are several people turned by the 13, kind of thing. And that, like, because I went and I was like, did that happen? Like, my first thought was like, maybe that's what I got Sheriam. And then I was like, no, that's not right. And then I remember that Logain, I remember they tried to do it to Logain a number of times. Like 13 maybe. And like Jesus Christ, what fucked up thing that probably is to sit there and try to resist it. I
mean, that's the major threat to them at the end of this book, right? They said like they get captured in the stone, and they're like, oh well, don't worry, 13 meters are all on the way in.
And I think the interesting thing about that is, though, to Jono's note, is like clearly it's not just like if you have the right numbers, it's not like easy. It depends on the person's resilience. And the reason Rand's like upset and worried right now is because he knows he can't hold out. And he's like, if you don't kill me or kick that dagger towards me instead of away from me, I won't be able to stop them. And then I will turn.
And it's also an important point, too. If you're trying to commit suicide, but you can't reach your knife, don't say, I want to kill myself. Say, hand me the knife so I can cut something loose. And
if I just cut my belt, I'll be able to slide out. And then he just jams it into his chest.
Yeah, that's a good point. Anyway,
I just want a quick haircut. Just take me the dagger. I'm not going to stab myself in the throat.
It would have been cool to see a major character turned at some point in the series.
I mean, a lot of the Black Tower gets turned, but none of them are major characters. You're right.
Yeah, none of them, like the Black Tower and a couple of those Aes Sedai who were caught. But yeah, again, they're not. I mean, major.
I said it the first time we did this series, but I mean, like, I'm sure I'll say it again as we reach the end. I wish more main characters had maybe died, or if there'd been like a little bit more repercussions of it being the last battle.
There is a point throughout the series where I start to feel like
one dies.
There are no stakes.
Yeah, and the only time, like, I will say this to Sanderson, is that the only time that really kind of all of a sudden feels opposite is when we have the quick, when Swan dies, when Gareth Bryan died. Dies.
That's the end.
Oh, shit. But
I mean, like, when I read the first book, I was positive not every single one of these people was going to make it out of this thing alive.
Yeah. And really, from the main group, it's just a Gwen, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, Moraine dies, but she's back at the end.
The main group and like that leaves together, plus
Tom,
Nave,
quote
Loyal,
unquote, dies
Min.
for a little bit too, but we all know that wasn't real.
They don't make it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I at least thought like Land was going to be like, maybe not go crazy and ride towards the last battle like a madman like he wanted to all this time, but like at least not make it out, you know?
Yeah.
I thought the dream ring that Nynaeve went through where they had children and everything was happy and Malkir was rebuilt was just like, that's not happening.
That's a pipe
you know,
dream.
like kind of thing, like, you know. Anyway, back to this dream.
Third ring.
Yeah, third ring. Amiralin gets deposed. She leaves Rand for either gentling and or turning. But I mean, there's a lot going on here.
So Egwene is the Amiralin. And who's her keeper, Tom?
It's a B.
Remember.
Beldine. Thank you to be keeper, Beldine.
I like that. I think it's interesting here because I always thought Egwene would be blue. And then I think the only real reason that she kind of leaned green later was because of this dream ring where she was like, oh, my keeper has a green stole, so clearly she was raised from the same Aja I was in, and that means I probably picked green.
She always wants to fuck her warder. Remember, she always wanted to make... That's really what it is, right?
Well, just because you're a blue doesn't mean you can't fuck your warder. It just doesn't, it just means you can't have more than one.
But she wants to bang both brothers, and we all know.
Bang Bros. Gallad, Gawain.
She was a investor in Bang Bros, and so that explains that.
I thought Gallad, Gawain, Wobbly H was enough. Eiffel Tower?
We're half brothers. And scene.
We're brothers.
She's better than both of them. She would Eiffel Tower them. She would just high five her. She would high five herself in the middle. Like, fuck yeah. Let's get real. She's way more badass than the two of them.
That's true.
I can work that out in my mind. So their legs are interlaced. Anal, vaginal.
You'll figure it out.
She just high fives herself.
Put your full step here. Get your step out.
And they're sad. They're just like, it's so rude. Whatever. Get back to work.
There is discussion of this thing called the Great Purge, which is interesting, which is kind of the casting out of a lot of the Black Ajah, which is typically what happens later on, I believe, which is taking care like once law is or is not black.
Yeah, but in this reality, it's just called like the semi-decent purge.
Not quite great enough purge.
Purge, comma. It was okay.
It was pretty good.
It didn't suck. I mean,
it did.
We did some purging.
Yeah. So anyway, so they go into the hall.
Purge grades a bit much.
Grades a bit much. Oh man, these are all good titles.
The 50th book. So Elida comes in. She brings in Rand, and Egwene has judgment on him. So instantly knocked unconscious. Like not even like I'm not sure that if he's the Dragon Reborn. Just
I think the implication is that she's clearly been like helping Rand and like.
Oh yeah. Well, it's
doing
also
a shitload of stuff for Rand in the background, or like they're well aware of it.
I thought the implication was there's no way off the boat.
Yeah, that's correct.
I mean, that's the implication, Tom. But we don't, you know, we're not gonna hurt these girls. No, the implication.
So she awakens slowly, and there's 13 Myrddraal and 13 Aes Sedai.
Yeah, that was a badass moment, man.
Yeah, great. So she instantly wakes up, kills all 13 Myrddraal, punches one Aes Sedai in the face, and then closes a door and runs away. On rereading it this morning or this afternoon, I was like, what about the other dozen channeling women? How does she get away?
Well, they're all yelling like she's holding too much of the power. We can't cut her off anymore. Like, they are saying things that make sense, but you're right. It is a little insane, but it's also a dream. So maybe it's like that moment of like, if the door is closed, they can't see me. Problem solved. Suddenly I'm halfway through the tower and no one's around. I don't know. It makes sense in the terms of a dream, but you're right. It's like kind of like, what the fuck? I guess, I mean, I will say at least 2 or 3 of those Aes Sedai are like, I just saw 13 Midril burst into flames. I'm a little scared.
Again, you're probably scared shitless when this lady comes up, who's clearly strong as fuck, punches one in the face, knocks her out, and then just starts running after, leaving burning husks of death behind her. Like, you don't have much time to react.
For sure.
So she eventually goes and finds Betty, who actually mentions that she's stilled, and Elida's a Black Ajah, which is great because Elida's outside in real life. And Egwene mentions the rather salient point, I never held the oath rod. Which again, there's so many little tidbits here, like her rivalry with Elida, like the I never held the oath rod thing, the fact that she is the Amirlan seat. Like, there's all kinds of like weird, like, wow, this is really telling for like what's going to happen. Yeah.
With the Neves, it was less so though, because it was like more like, just I'm married to Lan, we have kids, and we're happy. And not that might not happen post book 14, but man, this is kind of crazy.
She eventually comes to see all the, gathering there in the, Court of Traders or whatever the fuck.
The Court of Traders. Yeah, I think so. Traders Court.
I'm sorry, I got that backwards.
Well, it makes more. I was like, that's not right, but what is right? And then I was like, oh, it's just reversed. I like when she contemplates lifting him out with air. She's like, I could probably lift him and get him over here, no problem. But he would just be peppered with arrows before he comes out. Just like, that would suck.
Got a pepper bar.
I got him. Pincushion.
Slowly moving up into the sky. Not to mention, she's a sitting duck.
Whoa.
It brings so many questions. Like, it sounds like she's like in like a sniper tower almost, right? So you're like, all right, you're hidden. No one's
I don't quite understand why she's on roof tiles or like how she got there or what's happening. Like, it's kind of very quickly like described, and I'm like, wait, what's happening? She's running around on tiles on a rooftop.
And then what happens? Well, she wants to slowly, like you said, just bring Rand across so he's a sitting duck between women and maybe some sniper.
So here's a serious question. Do you think there's like actually something to the voice that keeps saying the Black Ajah is watching? Because it's like the voice that says, be steadfast, the way comes but once kind of thing. Like, that's clearly like Sheriam being like, her words are reverberating through the dream world that she's in and kind of keeps them on track. But like, where the fuck is the other voice coming from? Is it part of the dream, or is it like the fact that somebody out there is Black Ajah and they're literally watching, or like Sheriam, or is it like, I wonder what that is.
Wait, say that again?
So the words the Black Ajah is watching keeps interrupting the words that Sheriam, that she hears every time, like the way comes but once, like be steadfast. It keeps getting cut off, and then like another sentence comes in that says the Black Ajah is watching or something like that. And that's kind of what keeps breaking her concentration.
It might have to do with like you work very hard to remember, I guess, somewhere in the back of your brain, like the words
like
that they say to you before you go in
that way.
Before you go into the ring. Yeah. But also at the same time, she's like has high anxiety that someone's going to go through her stuff, and she thinks
that she's hunting them. Right. Okay.
Yeah. So it might just be like
that's a solid answer. I like that answer.
I always support Tom.
I mean, it's just it's kind of, it almost makes you wonder, like, is somebody out there like thinking that or something, like at her, like kind of thing, or like Siwan's in the room by this point, for instance, like
both of these
because shit's going crazy
inside her own head.
Yeah, that makes the most sense, I think.
I was double checking my thoughts from earlier. Nynaeve does not use fire in her set.
What?
Wait. You broke up like a lot. Just start over.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything. Yeah, start over.
So I misspoke. earlier in this episode, and I said that Nynaeve learned how to use balefire for the accepted test. I don't think she did. My notes. I knew Egwene used it here, but I don't think. And then I can remember now if Nynaeve used balefire.
Doesn't she throw it at Agenor, or
she would have used it? But she never.
Balthamel, I can't remember which one it is.
Johnny, you're kind of breaking up still. I can't hear you.
Damn it!
Stop moving your fucking phone around.
So, to Tom's point, you would have used it on Agenor because that was the one that she had kind of kill, and she never did, and that's why she was running away to kill him. So I don't think she ever used balefire. That I can. Maybe I don't. Maybe I'm just misremembering it earlier.
What was her second ring? The third one was Land of the Babies, right?
Well, I think the second one was Agenor.
The second one was Agenor.
That was the first one, I thought.
Yeah,
no, the first one is Two Rivers. Wisdom's different.
Okay. I'm going to disagree
I
there.
don't know, Jono. I think I remember you being. I think you're right. I think she did, but maybe we're both right. I don't know.
Pretend I'm
right. I
right.
didn't correct you earlier because I vaguely recall that being the case, but maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe she used the third one.
Maybe we should drink less when we're. Nope, that's not.
No.
That's not
What the fuck are you talking about? Fucking kill you.
We're really good at our job.
Which we've done twice.
Anyway, she leaves Rain behind and she jumps through the ring, and he gets Gentle Landor turned by 13 fades that are on their way.
Are all the Aes Sedai in this gathering cool with this?
She says shit like that throughout the entire section. She's constantly going I don't get it. How did they even have him down in the court already? Did no one get upset that I didn't have a trial? She's.
Well, you know what happened. You know what clearly happened.
To the fact that they've turned many Aes Sedai already.
I think what happened was
Rand's the last piece.
The Great Purge actually was the opposite purge. The black. She's like, look, you're the only three I can trust, and they're just like, this is awesome. We're Black Aja.
She's totally wrong.
And then instead of
Joe's wrong, and Suan and Moraine can't trust anyone.
Instead of people in the light hunting down Black Aja, the Black Aja was like, I can't believe she gave us this job. We can hunt down everyone in the light.
I know, and all we have to do is turn everybody. We got 13 fades.
She is the worst Maryland ever. We win.
It's not wrong. I mean, because technically what happens here, right? Elida, this is similar to Elida overthrowing Swan. And who is Egwene trusting? She just trusted Varen, Black Aja, Sheriam, Black Aja. And so she's 0 for 2 on who she should. Maybe that is.
I mean, she should trust Varen because she's a double agent, but she doesn't know that.
Is she playing on 00 mode or secret agent?
No, double agent, not 00.
Interesting. That's not a choice. There's agents.
She has a license to kill, though.
Oh, good movie.
So I guess she is 00.
Okay, then that's fine.
Okay.
What we don't know is that Varen was really a triple agent.
Oh, shit. She's playing on 007 mode. Which means how easy and how much health she's got.
Yes.
And that's why she looks so weird.
Jono, say that tWoTcast for this week.
I was just going to go on with more. Yeah, ammo. No, that's not right.
I was imagining an Abe with a big head but naked running through a James Bond board trying to kill Agenor.
It's Jungle, all right? She's like, or she's not Eve. She's Natalia. So that's tWoTcast this week. If you have any comments or questions, the best way to find us is on Twitsyboo at tWoTcast.
Twitsyboo, that's correct.
Yeah, everybody knows what that means. Actually, if they don't, that would be sad. And listen wherever you get your podcasts. You can email us, tWoTcast@gmail.com.
I handed you that one time. I was waiting. I know you hate the next one. tWoTcast theme songs brought to you by Taffy Bennington. That's Sing with Taffy on Twitter and Anarchy 101 on YouTube. If you want to watch all of her other lovely songs that she's made, because there are a lot.
They're pretty good.
And also everyone's favorite musician on Twitter, #Twitter of Time, Androl, at Androl Getting Hauled on Twitter, and the Androl Bard of Time on YouTube. Also has a wide variety of music for you to listen to.
We're on Patreon at patreon.com/tWoTcast. Just donate money to the podcast. I'm not going to read all of this. Just donate money to the podcast. If you're listening to it, you're stealing from us.
Intellectual property costs money. Thank you to our guests, which was thankfully no one, although we love our guests generally. And let's plug in whatever you've got. Oh, it's us. Join us next week for the Wheel of Time, Book 3, The Dragon Reborn. We'll be doing Part 6, covering chapters 23 through 26. Chapter 23 already haven't been spoken of at least 5 times because we forget what the fuck happens between.
That's my mistake. I read a little bit further than I was supposed to, and I forgot where it stopped.
We'll do 24 through 26.
All right, there you go.
Got more for your money on this.
Next week when we do 23, we're just going to be like, 23 happened. Anyway, 24.
You actually only got more for your money on this one if you're actually paying fucking money. Join the Patreon. You cheap bitches.
Yes. Keep the change, you filthy animals. Actually, no. Keep us the change.
Yeah, give us the change.
Jono, you've been listening to Joe.
Give us the change, you filthy animals.
Tom.
Study your math.
Goodbye.
Like at your bank account, figure out how much fucking money you can give us. Give us all the money.
Among the first to start, the tWoTcast was so smart to lovingly bash our favorite books. But that was long ago, and now they've grown the show, and now they got us in their hooks. Don't throw coins to these bastards, they need bars of gold at least. Someone please keep them afloat. Now let's listen as they once again ramble through a book. Let's get the fucking quote. One of them is Tom, but he is barely on. Sometimes he calls into the show. Another one is Jono. Is he their joker? Oh no. And Joe, is he the stupid one? Welcome to the tWoTcast. We will share our love for books and all our hate in every episode. We'll entertain you, make you laugh so hard you barely can stand up. That is the tWoTcast code.